garden is basically bursting. We had a day camp last week and I was not in the garden as much as I had been, and wow, it really exploded. And then we had some rain and we've had some hot days, so it's so good. And even the footage I'm gonna show you today doesn't give it justice because it's probably grown a ton since that footage was done. But I'm ending a good day. Some chamomile from my own garden, some mint from last year, and some nettle leaf from Azure Standard that I bought in bulk. But I'm trying to get back into drinking my tea every day, and at night it just seems an enjoyable way to end the day. If you're new here, I'm Faith, and we live within the city limits as our family of 9, and we are dreaming and actively searching for a homestead. But right now we just have our little urban garden right now, and we had some projects that my husband, he just can fix or build anything, and I had talked to him about a harvest cabinet, like something that I needed for when the butternut squash and things need to be cured. And he knows I'm growing potatoes, which won't give us that much as a family of 9. It's not going to give us, too many meals. But the idea behind having a curing cabinet, and this week I had peaches on there. So we bought peaches from the Amish. They get them straight from Georgia. And we went strawberry picking, which all of that will be in a preservation video. You can subscribe, and that will be coming out soon. One of the big fails I think I've had as a gardener is just not pruning and harvesting early in the season. I always want to wait till my basil is really big and bushy to get a lot of pesto, but then I'm left with leggy basil that doesn't give me that much. And I only realized that through trial and error, but also watching a lot of gardening videos in the last year about how one basil plant can get huge as long as you take care of it properly. So that was my huge encouragement for a small garden space like I'm doing. I am kind of disappointed in my knockoff. Wanted a green stalk, but we had invested in other areas of the garden. How I just went to Dollar Tree and bought their stackable garden towers, and honestly I'm not really impressed. I've kept them watered. I know that they dry out faster than my grow bags or my garden beds, but I've just been kind of disappointed about how much is actually growing, and even though I know it's the same soil and things, so I'm not sure if it's the location. I don't know. So I'm not super impressed, but I did know I tried putting some green beans in there, but mostly it's herbs, so it's not going to be a huge dent into our food. But I have been, lots of herbs come from the garden. I've made some herbed butter. I've been running my freeze dryer, which has been collecting dust for the last 6 months because I didn't really do much this fall and winter with it. Dryer is running multiple times a week, and it feels really good to get a big expensive tool being used. I'm just so excited for this garden season. I have been dealing with some pests, some aphids, which my calendula I know is collecting some of those. The white moths didn't seem to bother me so much at the beginning of this spring because I was doing making sure I had onions near my cabbages, and I think that did do a lot of deterring. But now that I have other plants and such coming up, I feel like the onions aren't doing quite as good at deterring them now, because I have seen some pests. Not giving up though. I've gotten a few strawberries from my strawberry plants my husband surprised me with. I have by the front door. So I'm gonna give you a little glimpse of the garden the last couple weeks. It is bigger and lusher since that footage. I'm just I love to see the progress of this. So this video is for you, but it's also for me to look back on. I'm so excited about getting some chamomile to stock up for teas, and my mints are going. We've had some lemon balm lemonade already. So we are enjoying the harvest, even though they are slowly trickling in. My first zucchini is growing, and maybe by the end of the week, I'll have to pick that. And I'm really excited, even though, you know, in 2 months, we're gonna be swimming in zucchinis. I hope you enjoy today's garden tour. In the summer months, my grocery bill is heavily put towards buying fruit in bulk. We have some local resources. We can go pick strawberries, we can pick blueberries. I have a resource that I can buy large quantities, like 50 or 100 pounds of blueberries. I also have a place that's local. The Amish get Georgia peaches straight from Georgia every week for a few weeks in June until July. So my grocery budget really goes to that, because as a family of 9, fruit and protein are our 2 biggest expenses when it comes to our grocery bill. So I like to bulk buy and preserve items like that. By bulk buying, we tend to eat our fill on whatever fruit is in season, and whatever is left over is processed. And when I make jams and jellies and I freeze dry fruit, that is stored away more for fall and winter. Yes, we do keep a jar here and there, but I really do like to focus that for winter. And this year I actually learned how nutritious the strawberry tops are, and my plan this time, I know a lot of people make a jelly syrup with the tops, but these came off so well I didn't have to cut them with a knife, so I decided actually to freeze dry them, and I will add them to our teas or grind it up into a powder with our smoothies this fall and winter, because they're so high in many different vitamins. And then I sliced a batch up to flash freeze for smoothies. And then of course I'm making some strawberry jam. This batch, because my pectin hadn't came in, I could not find Pomona's pectin anywhere locally. I tried Rural King and Kroger and a couple other different stores that I know I bought locally before. Online, I could only find it on Amazon, which was way more expensive. And I did not place an Azure Standard order this month, so I actually found Pomona's pectin on iHerb and I ordered it there. So in the meantime, I'm doing some other strawberry project. I don't know if you've seen the viral video about jello and Greek yogurt, but when I see something viral, I always think, how can I make this homemade? If this is so good and so yummy, how can I make it homemade? So I took my strawberry jam. It was a little liquidy, which was fine because this was a freezer batch, so I know it was liquidy and I wasn't worried about the water content. But it was liquidy, it wasn't a strawberry puree, but I went ahead and used 2 cups of the strawberry. I did 1 tablespoon of beef gelatin and I stirred that. The strawberries were cooled down slightly but still warm, so that beef gelatin can get a little bit of a bloom while it sat there for 5 or 10 minutes. You really need to whisk this really well, and also whisking it helps get that air in there. And then you do equal parts of your liquid to Greek yogurt, which I did 2 cups and 1 tablespoon of beef gelatin, and then 2 cups of Greek yogurt. I love this Greek yogurt from Costco. It's way creamier and it has like just a creamier texture than other brands. And since these strawberries were super ripe from picking, and I didn't need to add any sweetener, but if you do add sweetener, I would probably just add some maple syrup or honey. That way I know it would mix up very well. And it takes a minute to kind of actually mix this up, and you got to be careful that you don't overflow and make a huge strawberry mess. But once you're mixed up, and you put it in the fridge for a couple hours, it's so airy and fluffy. It's almost like a whipped yogurt texture, and it was a hit on all of the kids. I've actually made this 3 times since then, and we'll keep this in a rotation and probably do the same thing when I have blueberries next month. So if you have seen that viral video about jello and Greek yogurt, know if you have a well-stocked pantry and have some beef gelatin, you can just make this at home. I assume this would work even better if the fruit was frozen, because when you defrost it and then blend it up, it's already that liquidy consistency. I did another batch of strawberry and it was more of a strawberry puree, and it turned more like just thick Greek yogurt, not the airy jello-y flavor. So here's the texture for context. And then of course, we always have our fill of fresh eating. So I did a couple different containers of strawberries. They did not last long, and we picked 26 pounds for our family of 9, and I had a batch in the freezer, so when my pectin came in, I could make some strawberry rhubarb jam. But I feel like this is not going to be enough, so we might end up going strawberry picking for another maybe 10 or 15 pounds. I don't know. Do you guys keep track of how many pounds of when you buy things in bulk like this? Do you keep track? I did keep track this year, so I'm interested to see how much that I know in the future, or how to be able, when we get a homestead, to be able to track how much we need. And then I had canned some peaches the day before, and I kind of overfilled a little bit of my syrup. So everything was a sticky mess, and I wanted to make sure the seals all sealed, and I washed off the syrup. And these are ready to go back in the box and put away for winter also. I know you could find a recipe for canning on this, but since I didn't have that pectin, I just went ahead and did a batch of strawberry lemonade concentrate that I put in the freezer this time in little half-pint jars. So in the fall or sometime fun for a tea party, we will pull this out and have a strawberry lemonade. I like to have fun drink treats in the summer and the winter. That way it just makes, a lunch that more enjoyable. And because I had some lemons left over and we had made some sun tea, I know there's controversy about having sun tea sit outside, but we still do it. Never been sick, so we continue to do it. I would like to move away from tea bags, but I haven't found black tea in bulk necessarily. So if you have a good resource of just plain black tea, leave it below. And then I had steeped some lemon balm that I had pulled from the garden. So I normally like to make a lemon balm lemonade, and we just drink that. It has a lot of digestive properties and stuff. But this time I decided to do like a half and half, a lemonade iced tea for the children. And we had that one day for lunch. So I didn't have those lemons go to waste. And as always, we try not to waste anything. So the lemons actually went into my freezer broth bag and went into a batch of broth that I made another day this week. And because that was still a little too sour, I had actually made the sugar water was from the peaches, and I had some extra. So that is what I used to sweeten the lemon balm iced tea mixture. And the freeze dryer is running, and I'm so happy to see it running after 6 months of a hiatus. And we fill this one with herbs. I have new herbs in the garden, so I kind of had to label different things. And she's working on lemon thyme, and I do keep the stems. You can puree them and add it to like my greens mixture, but these stems I just threw in my broth bag because I knew I was going to be making batch of broth soon. And then I keep everything in jars. I have small jars that I keep by the stove, and then I like to have the wide mouth 1.5 pint jars to fill up. I've been switching over to that because it's easier to stack in my pantry taller jars that are wide mouth. And then I'm picking herbs every single day. So I have been making some herbed butter recently, and I save the wrapper, and after I soften the butter and mix it up, I just fold it kind of back into the wrapper. And my favorite way to use this is when I'm finishing off a steak, or it's great in mashed potatoes or twice baked potatoes or in a shepherd's pie. It's really easy to use this butter to give it some extra flavor. And I actually have an old chive butter video here on the channel if you would like to check it out. So thanks for taking this peek into my kitchen. We are basically having projects going on almost every single day right now, and we're not even into like true harvest season, but it feels so good to get stuff stocked back up. It makes me so happy that you're here to share it with me, and I hope to see you soon.